Everyone, my name is Ben Scott, and I'll be your moderator today for today's interview with the Masters, brought to you by Computer Graphics Master Academy. And we have joining us Creative Director and Co-Founder of Section Studios, Cecil Kim. Cecil, thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Hi. It's great to meet you guys online. And thank you for CGMW for inviting me, and it's such an honor. Alongside with all the guys that I respect, and I would be sharing some of my thoughts. So let's do it.
Excellent, Cecil. Thank you so much for your desire to spring forward. We appreciate it. I'd like to start a little bit with your history, and if you could describe a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do. Go right ahead.
Okay. I'm a concept artist, and I study traditional art from college art center. So from there, which is almost let's say 15 years ago, and then I started working as concept artist in game companies, and I worked on few pop titles that you guys probably familiar with. And then last year, I co-founded Section Studios with my partner Justin Yoon, and now I'm doing a little more than just concept work, working on the business side, and managing a team of a production team, and it's a lot of work, but I'm glad that I choose my path being an artist, and every day is an exciting challenge, and it's so much fun. So
excellent.
That's good.
It's glad to hear that you're able to enjoy that. And as everyone just heard, you've had a pretty long history. You said your experience spans about 15 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's kind of humble to say it, because I guess I was one of the first. I'm kind of shrinking down my photo now. Actually, my career started with film post-production company. It's called Imaginary Forces, and they hired me for contractor, illustrator / storyboard artist, doing a lot of movie title sequences and some of the special effects they had to put together in visual to show it to their film clients. And I worked on many movies, but a lot of it really short, like short span of a schedule, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then with that portfolio, I sent it to different game companies, and one of the companies called Square USA. Back then, Square just finished the Final Fantasy VII and made a huge success worldwide. So they wanted to come into the States and sort of bring in some of the American, designers and special effects experts. So we made a joint team, and we worked on a Parasite Eve. So 15 years, and I guess I worked on games for PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. So I guess something that I can share, interesting part of my career, is that I worked from that very limited hardware requirement, where PlayStation 1 is such a low poly, there's no free looking camera, not in a lot of games. So I worked on a very old-fashioned way, and then PlayStation 2, there's a free-looking cameras and more polygon numbers and a little bit more like cinematic expression we could do. So I worked on that, and then of course the PlayStation 3 is such a great machine. So, and team behind the God of War series, they're very good. Probably one of the most renowned developers. So I learned a lot from them too. So 15 years is like kind of like console history, So
You've covered pretty much the whole span, and we'll definitely go into a little bit of detail about that in a few moments here. But I'd like to take it back a little bit before you were working in the game industry, and probably when you were a young child. Where would you say that your interest in art began?
oh, it's just that just being a kid, because well, when I was in elementary school, you know, kids likes to go to picnic and go outside and play. And there are a number of art competition in school that I just went there just to play, you know. And then some of the paintings that I did, somehow the teachers, they liked it. So, you know, every time I went there and went putting my paintings, somehow I start to get I mean, like, looked as like, hey, that kid can draw and paint. So I guess since I was young, I thought, yeah, maybe I have something with art. Maybe I can do a little better than everybody else. I don't know. So I always had that. But then pretty much going through the teenager stage, you know, it's like you're sitting down and think about your life. What are you going to do? You know, I mean, sometimes you want to be like Einstein. Sometimes you want to be like a historian who can say, like, you know, tell what's going to happen in the future. Sometimes you want to be a politician. So I was confused. And then, you know, one day I told myself, well, why don't you just stick to what you're good at, you know? So it's like personal kind of wake-up call for me, because, you know, it's really tough for teenagers to figure out what they want to do. And so one point I brought it up to everybody, saying, you know what, I'm going to pursue art and see what happens. That was like, I was like 16. So, and then my parents took it seriously, and they signed me up to art school. Not art school, like small, like art, like studios. So I went there and then learned how to paint watercolors, you know, and learn like how to do the graphite renderings, and it's mostly pretty intense, very strong foundation training. And then yeah.
Did this all take place in your home country of Korea?
Yeah. I mean, no computers, no video games, just charcoal and watercolor. And I didn't even touch oil painting because I guess to go to university in Korea back then, you only required to do watercolor paintings and some of the tempera, which is like acrylic rendering, and just the graphite charcoal rendering. So I had that. I did it for a couple of years, not every day, just summer break, winter break. And then my parents said, hey, we're going to the United States, so if you want to do art, you can do it over there. But right now, it's too expensive to you for us to send you to art thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So let's do it in the States. So I came out here, which was 17.
You were 17 years old when you came to the United States. And what was it like moving from Korea to the United States at that time?
Oh man, but I came as a right age, because I already like a little bit mature than, you know, sensitive teenagers. So a lot of frustrations, you know. I went to urban high school, but there were not many international kids yet. So I signed up ESA class, but you know, it's a typical high school drama. You know, you just people try to talk to you, but you know what they're saying, kind of, but you don't know how to express yourself. So I was like,
now, did you learn English when you first came to the United States just then?
oh no, I was really bad. But Korea has pretty good, really good English teaching, because they know that's like one of the main study you have to do. You have to be really good at. So just writing and reading in general is I was pretty good, but problem is communication. You cannot think of the right word to say right away. So by the time you try to answer something, they're gone. So
Yeah, absolutely.
But then the art school, which is and then I signed up for junior college for like 3 years, where pretty much just working in a tennis. I deliver pizzas, and working at McDonald's, and then on the part time I went to junior college to do traditional figure drawing and basic color theory class, design class.
So essentially, when you came over, you had a short run at high school, then you did jobs here and there while you were going to junior college?
No job. Oh yeah, jobs to pay my car payment and pay for my beers and things like that.
So other than fun art stuff, this was delivering pizza and getting down to the nitty-gritty kind of work.
Yeah, I mean, as an immigrant, it's like you only been here a couple of years. Your family's busy figuring out how to survive. So it's my future and my career is not priority. I'm kind of like just trying to observe everything going on in the States. So I had to be kind of low-key, stay low-key.
What was it like trying to have to balance that? I mean, you're an immigrant, you're in a new country, you're working odd jobs, you're going to school as well. How did you balance all of that?
Well, because another thing is you suddenly have a lot of freedom as well, because I didn't drive in this Korea, so you have a car, and just going to art store was so much fun for me, because Korea never had that huge art warehouse. I used to go there and like spend like a couple hours just holding brushes, and wow, this country is crazy. There's so much thing you can do, right? And then teachers are really friendly, and then just different education completely. I mean, in Korea there's no nude model. I mean, I never painted nude. And then the life drawing that I really sit in front of, naked body, so it's really challenging, and you feel like, oh, suddenly I've become a very serious artist or something. So
it was definitely a good experience for you.
Of course.
So after junior college, then you moved into traditional college after that, correct?
Which is art center, yeah. Because art center was known for good professional training. They're known for production design and transportation, and I wanted to paint and draw, and I looked at fine art area, but everything going on in the fine art scene, I didn't understand, And looks like illustration majors are more focusing on, representational art, which is landscape, like children book, storytelling aspect of it, and a lot more colorful, So
once you were at Art Center, were you able to focus directly on just your art, or did you have to continue doing those jobs on the side as well?
Oh no, Art Center, you have no time to do a part-time job.
How much time would you say you were spending on art a day while you were at Art Center?
Oh, every day. I mean, their classes are 9 to 6. One class is, no, 9 to 3. I remember 9 to 3. Studio classes are 7 hours. So you go in the morning, and then you sit in front of the model, or you do your in-class assignment, and once you're done, you get homework. And then you go home and do homework, and next day you do it again with a different class.
So you said probably about 60 hours a week you were doing artwork.
Oh yeah, and then also I had to apply for a scholarship, because well, obviously it's money available. I mean, it's worth trying. So my goal was had to get that, but I didn't work on assignment to submit the scholarship review, which I had to work on my personal pieces. So a lot of times I, bring my little boombox and then go to the studio called 105. Back then there's a big open painting studio. Anybody can go in and paint. So I pretty much just stay there every night. And then, it's weird. It's because as a little kid, you think you're doing this grand, like a master kind of thing, I mean, you're like, I'm a fine artist, I stretch my own canvas, and, I get dirty, and I blow my nose, and there's black, chocolate comes out. But you're young, it's like, you feel like you want to take advantage of everything the school can provide.
It sounds like it was a really visceral experience almost for you. Just really down to the nitty-gritty of painting.
Well, I mean, subject matter that I used to deal with is kind of really busy, complex perspective cityscape. So, yeah. And then, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, would you say that all that time you were spending, how crucial was that to your development as an artist?
As development as an artist?
Yeah, all that time you were spending, those 60-hour weeks plus, how crucial was that to your development, would you say?
I don't quite understand. You're saying...
How important was that you worked that much on the artwork? How well did that help you develop?
Because the important thing is it teaches you how to discipline yourself. Because you just sit back then you don't sit on the computer and start painting. You have to have materials, and you have to stretch on canvas. If you're, let's say, titanium white paints, and you have a little bit left, and you have to go to the store and get one at a time. It's just a lot of time management in your head. So, and then you constantly have to think about, oh yeah, I got this assignment, which is the rendering of South Pasadena neighborhood that's due in 2 weeks. Then, okay, when can I go down there and take pictures, and when can I do rough comps so I can show it to my instructor? So pretty much within a week of span, you have about 10 assignments sitting in your head, which is really stressful. But then that's something really taught me how to be very proactive and just don't wait till last minute kind of thing. And your physical condition is not even a question of tiring or you're hungry, that kind of thing, because you have to do your homework, and you're sitting in the room with your roommate, and it's already 4 a.m. and then I got 3 hours, and you have to just crank out something. So
did you feel like while you were doing that work over those years, were you able to see your improvement over time?
Oh yeah, I mean, the school actually teaches you because the assignment you get is everything is just new to you. So and then teachers start with showing examples, and I pretty much learn more from my classmates. I mean, your classmates are probably my own heroes too. Some of them I look up to, which is Donald Yatomi and Armand Bartaja. Those guys actually went to DreamWorks and became a painter. So those things happens around you, in the class. So I always look at other people's work, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I wish I can just do that brushwork like that. How can I do that? But
so your classmates just really drove you to be better.
I mean, that's what a teacher's job too. It's kind of saying, hey, everybody's gonna do this thing, but I don't like your stuff. I like this because of this. And it's like you never know until you put your work next to everybody else. Because until then, you just work on your stuff by yourself, and slowly you understand. Oh, okay. I think I'm a little bit up there, or I'm not even close to average. That's why. And then later, towards the graduation, I was pretty much spot on because if I'm happy with my work, then everybody likes my work. And if I really didn't like my work, then it's not even like worth like putting up on the wall.
So
So
let's take it to that graduation point because you're mentioning that you graduated. What was the feeling after finishing all these long weeks of artwork, finishing school, graduating? How did you feel then?
and then and then pretty and then almost like soul searching. Yeah, I mean back then we didn't have email, and I didn't know difference between animation and games. I didn't know difference between editorial illustration and advertising illustration. I kind of knew, but sort of entertainment industry was the new business that start taking up a big uh, presence in the LA area. So I had a mixed up portfolio that I just wanted to get job. Even though some of my fine art teachers say, "Hey, you're gonna keep doing paintings, right?" But I said, "Well, but I have to pay bills. I have to pay my at least return something back to my parents and family, saying thank you for being behind my back. And I'll be fine. I'll be fine taking care of myself. But being a straight painter was an option. So I look into animation studios. So I basically shop around, go through all the lists on LA area, but wasn't successful. And I know why, because my portfolio wasn't designed to one specific skills. It was a paintings. It was like abstract designs. It's kind of like all over the place. So that imaginary forces was such a great help for me because when I went there, they're just professionals. There's one of the top graphic designers and After Effects experts. So they know how to use my skill to use their production. So they tell me, these are the ideas, and these are the boards that we want you to draw, and let's go. So I sit in the office sometimes, like a couple of days straight, and then they take it to their clients and keep doing that. But the important thing is, because I was able to work on real production, my portfolio from there became something with credit, saying I can say, hey, I worked on this place, and this is the outcome. This is the contribution that I did, and I put that in along with which is storyboards and some of the color rendering of the special effects shots.
So at Imaginary Forces was your first job there, and mostly what you did were storyboards and color pieces. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And then yeah, something like this. You're seeing it on the screen, right?
Yes,
The
we are.
storyboard, yeah. So you do it like really quick pencil and just explain like quick camera moves, and then like sometimes how the letter is gonna fly in, those things. So I sent it to a number of game studio, but the Square they liked my portfolio because they needed to brought out this very intense cinematic movies that goes in the game, and then they call me and say, you want to come in and do some storyboards for our games? So I said, well, okay, that's great. So I went there, and I didn't know that's how big their company was, and I didn't know the Final Fantasy was that big either. I'm like, what? Final Fantasy? I never heard of it. Anyway, and then the art director, Donnell Williams, he hired me from there. He showed me some of the cinematic rendering movies they done in Japan for the Final Fantasy VII, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks like Miyazaki movie, but it's 3D. I never seen anything like that. So beautiful. I'm like, I could just watch that all day, right? That was like 1997. And then he goes, well, you might be designing one of these ships flying in there. And I'm like, no way. That's how much I didn't know what concept artist does, you know?
It's almost overwhelming to approach such a major project that looks so beautiful, and now they're asking you to work in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? So, at Square, I did a lot of drawings, storyboards for this particular shots where, like, I mean, I wish I can scan it and show it to you, but basically, it's like the script board with images, right? So that's just something I learned because my career is kind of like picked up by people around me because, I mean, that's probably the same case for every professional out there. One of the designers, which is Ryota Toyama, he's a level designer who did a LAPD, the New York, the head police department, the game level design for Parasite Eve. He looked at my portfolio and he's like, wow, your portfolio storyboard is so detailed. And he wanted American artists to design his level, not someone from Japan. So he pitched to me saying, well, can you design the levels now? I mean, so I said, well, teach me how to do it. So I sat down and I work with Japanese artists. They're so good at like layout design, which require like good perspective and good understanding in game layout, and also just tons of information. And all the drawings are pretty small too. It's like everything is fit into 11 by 11, the regular letter size paper.
So this is how you made your step from storyboard to concept art, was here at Square.
Right. So this, you get this drawing too. I mean, I drew these buildings here. This wasn't even big either because I was always wanted to draw everything big because I'm coming from the fine art. And then at Parasite Eve with Square, I had to learn how they do things too. So I sat down and got a couple mechanical pencils and just small drawings, small accurate tight drawings, and that really opened my eyes because wow, you can create such a detailed world in very short period of time. And it's like recording your visions in a paper. So when you work on a long production like that, it's very effective because you can even trace one drawing over, and it's just very easy to communicate with other people. So,
well, your work is beautiful, and you can really see, looking at them, why Square wanted to pull you in and why they wanted to bring you onto the concepting end of those. But these are some classic projects. I mean, this is Parasite Eve. This is Final Fantasy IX. These are projects that many of us grew up playing and we really love. What's it like having worked on projects that are so tightly woven into the memories of so many gamers?
Well, I just have to say I was lucky because I jumped on to the team that figure out everything. They're ahead of other productions. I mean, Parasite Eve, I was so surprised too because even it's like 10 years past. I mean, last week was E3. Actually, I walked around the E3 floor with Parasite director Takashi Tokita. He became a good friend of mine, and it's every time we meet and greet with everybody else, because people who's in the game industry, especially the ones that are a little younger than me, their experience with that game is very like touching, and it's different, almost like they remember that game as, wow, I remember the game being so different and so intense kind of deal. So it was great, and I mean, Final Fantasy was, especially the 9, because it was Square's intention of going back to this very original medieval setting, not the like up to Final Fantasy 6, where like small cartoon proportion characters. So it was like the fan was kind of waiting for that, because Final Fantasy 7 was a little futuristic with a cyberpunk, a little bit like that, and then Final Fantasy 8 was 100% like futuristic. It's a gorgeous, like the design language, very like out there. But Final Fantasy 9 is more like, okay, let's go back to the original. Let's go back to what people remember with this, you know, the music and this dialogue and this little prince and the little guy just going on just expensive, like such a big world going place to place. So I was just one of hundreds some people that worked on the game, but it's I guess I was lucky to also stay on a couple projects that are long, because it became kind of used to me, because the Parasite took a couple of years, but I worked on a year and a half. But then Final Fantasy 9 was 2.5 years. So I learned how to be in the project in the early beginning, and seeing the team coming together, and you know, seeing the milestones, seeing the games coming together, seeing the games falling apart, seeing the teamwork goes down. It's like such a drama, because we all had to move to Hawaii to finish the project too. And some people didn't like that, because they had to stay away from their family. Someone just got married, and there was a lot of you know, like that. And well, I mean, I was just grateful to work on something, and somebody asked me to draw something. That's just amazing. So, you know, I put my head down and just, you know, keep up the happy spirit around everybody. So I guess
that wasn't the last amazing game that you've worked on. You've worked on many excellent titles even since then. And one of the titles that most people will recognize that you are actually art director for is God of War 3. Now that's some pretty big shoes to fill, the third title in such an amazing series, which has become a modern classic. And what was it like taking the helm on such a lauded and beloved series?
I had to correct you on that. I was an art director. Yeah, art director was Ken Feldman. We both worked together from God of War 1. He's amazing. Like, he pretty much built half of the God of War 1, especially the Pandora Temple. So he was art director, and I was after Charlie Wen, I became a visual development lead. So it's like leading the concept team. But the project was so huge, so he ended up having almost 7 or 8 concept artists. God of War 3 is different than God of War 1 and 2. Pretty much God of War 1 was like you giving a birth, you know. You don't even know how to do it. You don't even know it's going to be fun. You don't even know how people are going to like the characters. It's just, everything is just unknown. So it's pretty, it's like completely disconnected. There's no fan outside the studio. You know what I mean? So, but then God of War 2, yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, we did it. I mean, people like first game. Let's come out with a second one. Let's do it within very quick period of time. And we were so pumped up, right? So God of War 2 was like almost like happens like a miracle, you know. And the Cory Barlog had a great design direction, and we have a lot of different boss. So God of War 2 was even more successful in a way of how much people like playing it. But third game is, yeah, now what? Now what? I mean, we have to show what PlayStation 3 can do. You know, we had to. I mean, Sony was all behind us, and we had to end the franchise with this just final story, and then that's why in a way it was kind of scary because the bar was so high, and the production length was 3 years. So we know like everyone's waiting to play from day one. Before we even start the project, we know people wanted to know what's going to happen next and stuff. So
what was it like stepping between? You have God of War 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 2. Then you step into the PlayStation 3. There's this huge graphical upgrade. What was it like making that, bridging that gap there?
Oh, you know, that's pretty much the art team, especially the 3D guys, including programmers. That's their job. I don't even know. I know that, you know, there's a normal map, and there will be like just we're not even gonna have render cinematics. We go like, hey, if we can make this character so detailed, in-game models are so realistic, and there's muscle stretching, and there's like even you can see like the reflections on the eyeball and those kind of things. Why don't we use those for the movies? Like before God of War 1, same thing with Parasite, same thing with the Final Fantasy. In-game models are so low poly. So in terms of doing marketing and just bring out this dramatic storytelling moment, we had to make different model for those movies. But God of War 3 wasn't the case. It's like, well, we're just gonna use everything in game, and that's going to be as good as what everybody's seen before. So that was exciting. And then as far as the graphic challenge is, that's we're figuring that out together. So yeah, I mean, obviously I can put more details, and I can make more wide angle with like just more spectacular scenes. So yeah, something like this room here, like Parentheus banquet room, and which didn't make it in the game, but we get this lighting we tried here, you know, and this is actually like where he had a dinner with Hades or something, and he get trapped in this chair. So a lot of it, we just wanted to make sure like it's over. How do I say it? I mean, it's more dynamic in any ways, you know, so every ways. So.
Now you've really made your history on designing video games. Do you ever take time to play video games at all?
Oh yeah, I do play video games. I do.
Do you have a couple favorites?
Because, well, actually, I just played the what's that game? The Rockstar game. Oh, Max Payne. Max Payne. I just played the Max Payne 3. Wow, that's gameplay is so much fun. And then I like that, almost like watching like a HBO like TV series, you know? It's like dialogue, like harsh, and like I like that. But also FIFA, the new FIFA game. That game is crazy. I mean, every time I get online, I get my ass kicked. And But just sports game in general, I mean, I'm like, oh my God, you can like develop your own team. You can be a manager for the team, and it just some of the games, just some of the developers, they're taking those games and into a different level. And also, you know, I just finished the journey. My journey is like pretty. I'm like, oh my God, Sony actually let that game company make that game like that with no story. Character don't even have an arm. You know, you don't even know what you're doing. And just when I finished the game, I'm like, oh my God, this kind of gave me so much more room for me to interpret like the whole experience. You know, and I even thought about, wow, are they trying to say like Eastern philosophy about like talking with dead people, that kind of thing? I don't know. I mean, and so those are my favorite games, and of course, you know, just like everybody else, like I go from back in the days, Shadow of the Colossus. Yeah.
That's an amazing game.
I guess there's a connection with that game and also Journey too, because Shadow of the Colossus also didn't have a story, and it was all about experience. It's all about like seeing that visual in front of you, and how do you emotionally connect to the creature. You know, it's like how many blockbuster movies are doing that now. You know?
Absolutely.
So
let's turn back a little bit to your artwork here.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously have a vast amount of experience. You've worked on many amazing titles that turned out beautifully. Now, with most artists, they have some kind of a turning point in their artwork or some kind of a eureka moment where everything is just different. They just see more clearly how they work. Some have a few moments like that. Would you say that you've had one of those moments? And if you did, when was it and what was it?
I would say being okay. Final Fantasy is a fantasy game. So basically, like, it's not really grounded to any cultural or like, you know, it's just kind of, it has to look cool, but it has to feel like Final Fantasy world. Where God of War is like, hey, we're telling Greek mythology, you know? And my brain was so like used to thinking as like fantasy style. So in the God of War 1, some of the designs that I did, like this is one of the pitch that I did for God of War 1. Look at that. It's like this statue is not Greek statue, but and it feels Greek up here. That's the thing. I always wanted to put in my own twist to it, right? But then our director, David Jaffe, he's the man actually set the tone and then set the music. It's amazing, visionary. He always tells me, "Hey, Cecil, that's not Greek. That's not Greek." And I'm like, "It's not Greek. Why is it not Greek? That's not Greek." So internally, I was like struggling, and even this too. I mean, this is not. Is it Greek? I don't know. Maybe that structure is way too big. So that kind of like taught me something like it's not really about voicing my design. It's voicing about my thing. I have to kind of pull back and go back to the history book and sort of start from try to make good concept with very simple, basic discipline, the formula that people know. So God of War 1 was, to me, it's big stepping stone from, because, you know, as an artist, you feel like you have to show a lot, you have to invent things, you have to show people that haven't seen before. But God of War 1 is, you are showing something people haven't seen before, but with the objects and the designs that people are familiar with. So how do you offer a different experience? You have to play with the big shapes and different lightings. I mean, that's pretty much how the game came out. If you look at first God of War 1, we have so much big shapes. Even the rocks are big, even the gates are big. and the textures are all kind of stylized, very simple. So, and that's kind of helps the adventure, drives of adventure, like from moment to moment too, because you're running down this, like, you know, like sand dune, and you don't want to distract by all these crazy details on the side. You want to focus on enemies, and you want to focus on this, just you feel like you're moving forward, you know. So that was a big moment, and also working with Charlie Wan. I mean, Charlie Wan pretty much, to me, he before I worked with him, my approach is all based on line drawing, because, for example, this one, because I'm a very quick drawer, so something like this I drew in like less than an hour, and then put in just kind of wash over, you know. And so my approach is sort of different than Charlie. But Charlie was, when he was designing the character, he's like start with blob, and then start carving out nose, start bringing out the arms. So although he didn't do much background paintings, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, he just, the way he paints is so like, it's like gourmet like food, where my drawing is like, it's like kind of I don't know, well, why am I talking about food now? I guess I'm hungry. But you know what I mean. So that kind of changed my painting there. So for look at this painting, there's no line drawing, there's no pre layout. I just went straight to the brush and painted, you know. So I think that's the couple challenges that I had, and yeah.
It sounds like other artists really inspire you to try different directions and try new things and really push your art as far as you can.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the same thing with the school. I mean, you can work by yourself at home, you can get better, but I mean, just working with other artists, then you know where you are, and you know how to be humble, and you know how to inspire them too, you know, because I think artists in general, they're very fragile, and sort of everyone has a big ego. I mean, egos are naturally have, it's just a matter of how much ego do you have and how you use it, you know. So I have a very low ego. I mean, because the thing is, I learned to not to like attach to my work, saying, oh, this is not good, so I'm not going to show it to anybody. I mean, even before that, I have this website. I had a very old version, but I thought that, well, I mean, not everything I do is good art, but I'm just going to put it up anyway, because that's part of me. And for me to do that, it's kind of like, I don't have to think about, hey, I'm not going to show this work. I don't know what people are going to say about this. And in the beginning, I said, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to show everything that I do, and that's who I am. And just hopefully, like in the long run, I mean, I'll eventually get better. And so I always have that mentality, which is I suffer from it. I mean, because I get harsh crit from some clients sometimes, not clients, but somebody, random people, like write me emails saying, hey, that perspective is off, this and that. So I guess, well, I mean, I guess that's part of also the fine art approach, you know, because the fine art people, especially the Tim Abner, he's one of my teachers at Art Center. I went over to his house. Literally, he had like hundreds of like same drawing with a big brush ink pen. I think he was painting the clown head, and that was his approach. He said, well, I just have to draw over and over, and that way he built up that character in him, you know. And he wasn't afraid to show anything that he does. He's saying, "Well, this is what I am. This is what I do," and I respect that. It's about mileage, I guess. Am I talking too much?
Oh, you're talking just as much as we want you to. We want to be able to hear all about you. That's the point of why we're having you here. I'm going to actually move a little bit to some questions that we're getting from students that are here watching right now. One person here asks Elizabeth. She says that your work is gorgeous, and she wants to know how much time do you typically get for research and design development before going into the final image?
Oh, okay. It depends on the assignment, but I think research stage is probably the most important the stage, because I kind of drew my in my head. There's a motivation like graph in my head, because when you get assignment from clients, that's when you get most excited. Saying your clients say, "Hey, can you design this airship that looks like a whale?" I mean, then you're like, "Wow, it's so cool, right?" And then you just go back to the computer, and that's when you get most pumped up. You don't want to wait till next day. You don't want to wait till after Sunday. And another thing that's going to help when you start doing research, which is you put aside about 30 minutes. I mean, basically, more research you do, you might get a little more confused. And of course, every time, each assignment, I create this folder called like reference for this project. But usually, I keep it limited. It's not like 100 images in there. And then it just, without thinking too specific about it, just, oh, why I like this. Maybe I like the shape in this reference image. And something like this, my client, he was the rock band in France. He told me like the pirate, Poseidon, and it's like the ship is kind of like stuck in this like island. There's nothing around it. So the first thing I did was grab some images for the ships. So what kind of galleon that he's talking about, and then obviously some of the landscape information here. I use some photo textures and stuff too. So it is very important. Yeah.
Now, in that same image, in addition to the research that you have to do, you clearly have a great amount of technical skill. One of the skills that you have very well developed is your skills with perspective, particularly in your environments and in your industrial designs. Kaveen here asks if there are any resources that you'd recommend on perspective, whether they're books or other information that he can study.
It doesn't come. I can't think of it top of my head, but perspective. I guess because perspective, I didn't know anything about perspective until I took that class at Art Center, and probably everyone did that same assignment. But the first assignment is basically drawing one-point perspective, looking inside of your room, and you have to figure out how to put desks and how to put guitar and things like that. And the second assignment was the drawing the house from two-point perspective. So I had to do that assignment for 3 weeks. It's kind of like long assignment, and I think CGMA offers a perspective class too. Maybe that's something that I should teach at CGMA. What do you think?
I think that students would be more than happy to obtain that kind of knowledge from you.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that'll be fun because yeah, perspective is really important because it's as important as like human anatomy. If you want to be a character designer, you have to understand how human form works in different poses and stuff. Same thing with perspective. Perspective is like anybody look at painting and know if something is off. it's kind of scary, you know. Even the music composer, or you know, like even my dad would say, "Hey, that doesn't look right, right?"
So it's almost like perspective is the anatomy of industrial design and environments.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard. It's just you have to understand the couple the basic rules, you know. So understanding where the vanishing point is, that's it. I mean, it's not hard at all, because people think that perspective is technical. How do I draw this? I mean, just looking at this, you know, people might think, some students might think, oh my God, how do I calculate all this perspective? But the bottom line is not that. It's just figuring out where the vanishing point goes, you know, and then what happened to the ellipse when it's facing this way. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's easy. You just gotta do it. And then if there's a couple, but the thing is, I guess I was able to use a lot of perspective because I learned how to use freehand perspective, which is without vanishing point. You just go with the directional guidelines. That's why I improved from square. Because square was like, I did like over 100 like map drawings for the Paris Eve, which is sort of a shoebox drawing. Camera is kind of looking down, looks like looking inside of shoes, and there's like desks, there's a stuff, and sometimes it's outdoor. So when you do a number of those, I mean, you have to be quick, and you don't have big drafting board in front of you a lot of times. So something like this too. I mean, there's a slight 3-point perspective. Basically, everything is, yeah. I mean, you see it as a perspective off here and there, but it's about getting the big voice together. I mean, if you want to get caught up with these little things and afraid that, hey, somebody said you don't know perspective, that's not the point. It's just getting the production team understand what happened in this level. And I think so.
So let's go a little bit to some of the students that now they're trying to break into the industry themselves. Brock here asks if you have any advice for someone who is outside the industry and is trying to enter the industry as an artist.
Oh, okay. Well, important thing is getting the voice in your work is important, and there's a couple of ways to do it. One is try to incorporate more traditional approach. A lot of concept art you see online nowadays, everyone's so good. I mean, but if you bring in some of the traditional approach, for example, let me go. Like, you know, it's like doing more sketches and try to bring that into your painting, or rather than everything done in digital, then your work is going to have a little more soul to it. And the important thing is, because there's still people out there coming from traditional backgrounds, especially people who are in upper management. So even though the company is only 10 years old, their art director might be coming from Disney, you know? So, and those people that including me, when I look at work, I know that there is traditional approach in it instead of just copy and paste, or, you know, it's a very digitally put together image. Another way of helping you would be sort of you make yourself become a person of one particular subject matter, saying, okay, I like butterfly, so I'm going to do a series of butterfly. Some butterfly will be just a butterfly. Some butterfly will be mechanical butterfly. I'm just saying an example, and then it really connects you to yourself and what you like, right? So, and over the course of time, I mean, your work will have you'll be, develop a good volume of a work on one subject matter, which is going to help you too.
Now we have a few more questions from attendees here, and I think many of these are actually going to be answered when you do your short demonstration. So I'm going to ask you a few more questions before we move on to your demonstration for us. Right now, I understand that you've moved into opening your own studio named Section Studios with your partner Justin Yoon. What has that experience been like? Have you enjoyed it?
Oh yeah, it's been great experience, because not only actually the Sony is a big company. I mean, big production. So we're working in a section is we get multiple projects that we don't know. I mean, it's just some projects are long-term contract with a game production, but sometimes it's just the concept that we have to do for the commercial film, and also collaboration with the young game studios. So there's a lot of I guess building up network and working on a contract and understand the legal side. So it's like running your own show is quite daunting, but I'm just happier than ever, because you also you manage your own time, but then it feels like and also I get to put together the team of talents that depends on the project. I have to figure out how do we make the process faster and easier. So it's been a lot of fun, and also I'm realizing how much that I didn't know, because at Sony, as much as I wanted to know outside of concept work, that each department is so dedicated to each department's specific tasks. So that's how the project gets so good. I mean, but then at that section, I mean, it's everything I have to know, understand, even like understanding 2D rigging to do a sort of a quick iPhone ad project, things like that. So I feel like I'm actually start everything again. That's why I wanted to live Sony too, because I feel like I still haven't. Only way for me to expand my growth as an artist, because going back to the beginning, and Sony, I mean, I'm already achieved that console experience with such a strong team, and I mean, where I'm gonna learn like 2D rigging on this simple cartoon character, right? So I wanted to do everything. Not everything, but also because of teaching at Otis. I've been teaching at Otis for 10 years, and I've been also teaching at Art Center for 2 years. Seeing constant new, young, inspired students coming up and just telling me they want to do this and showing me their work, I get so inspired. It's like there's a lot more outside of what I've been doing that I wanted to contribute, that I wanted to inspire. So I think that's happening. I mean, I'm with the section. I mean, we are moving into our own production as well. So it's like you're not just responsible for your own artwork. It's like you have to create something that that eventually people will be seeing and playing it. So
Well, I have to say, Cecil, I think I speak for everyone here that you've really inspired us. That you have excellent work, and being able to listen to you talk about it has been it's been a real treat for us. As we close this interview session, I would like to ask you one more question. We've got a lot of artists here. We've got a lot of people that really want to get into the game and film and the entertainment industry. I was wondering if you could give all of us here a challenge on how we can just improve our work as we continue to grow.
I guess just a constant. Oh yeah, it's just. I think important thing is how do we grow as an artist. I guess it's like you respect yourself as an artist. It's kind of like changing the dynamic, because I mean it's okay to tell people that how much you like something and how much you're inspired, you know. And I mean, as soon as you detach yourself from being an artist, some people actually have a disconnected life where you go to work and you're being an artist, but when you come home, you're completely just normal person. And you have to understand, psychologically, we are very complicated individuals, because that's how I feel. I mean, if I don't draw something and if I don't get excited about my work, and I personally struggle because physically you get tired, but when you do something good, I mean, you get inspired about your work, and then physically you're tired, but actually mentally you get charged again. So I think you have to understand that there's a lot of responsibility coming with you, just being an artist, but then there's always blessing side to it too, because you have to always try to please yourself by being creative. Even the small drawing on your sketchbook, that's why some of the people that like become, you know, their names become like passed down to generation. We look up to all the masters and people like that. Those are people are very responsible for themselves. So because they talk about art all the time, but also they try to please themselves, you know.
I think that's really good advice.
Okay.
I think that's really good advice to find joy in the painting that you do. Cecil, I want to thank you so much for answering all of our questions here, and we want to give the opportunity for you to do a quick demonstration here. I see you've got Photoshop open. Is that your tool of choice when you're painting?
Yeah. So,
and I'm assuming you use a tablet as well. You use a Wacom tablet?
I use Cintiq at work, but at home I have a Wacom. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
So feel free to go right ahead and start. I see you look like you've got the basis of what might become an environment right here.
Yeah. Yes. I talk too much.
You talk just the right amount.
Oh man, I don't know what I said. Is everything gonna go online?
Is all of this video going to go online?
Yeah.
I mean, it's on there right now. I can double check what Manny and Ted plan to do with the recording. I know right now we currently have a few members of CGMA here watching.
I can actually answer that right now. Basically, this will be going online, but it will be accessible initially first to our students, and then maybe in the future, possibly we'll release segments of it to the public as like as a intro to UC, so of course, and then also to the courses. So. But actually, I just got corrected. It's only going to be for students. I'm so sorry. So it will be online, but only for students of the school. So, yes.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So I think there's a couple of different approaches that but basically comes down to two approaches. When clients have good idea about what they want, then sometimes you get a model or you get specific angle that you have to create. But in other cases, you pretty much have to keep creating stuff for yourself. I mean, I have a folder from, oh, oops, not this. For many years, I used to, this is Justin's painting. Personal. I have this kind of dump folder where I have this quick idea stuff in there that I sometimes go back and finish, sometimes I don't. But I have a lot of these, it's like, they're so different though, but because, if I feel like I want to draw something like animation style and, particular brush can achieve that quick, then like I try it. And then for school demo, I do a pencil and just do a quick color wash. So all those things, just everyday kind of, like a diary kind of deal. But doesn't matter how old these are. I mean, month later, year later, I go back and sometimes I finish, sometimes I don't. So this is kind of like in that kind of way because there's no particular requirement for what it should be, but it just start with very like moody color palettes that kind of, like I said, you have to be creative, and the only way to be creative is like you shouldn't get stressed about your work. So you just kind of see and enjoy, and what your painting does back to you. It's also like thing that I learned from painting and with the oils and stuff like that when I was doing paintings, because a lot of approaches are you have to do enough work that your work is gonna start giving you back to something, and it's stupid. Like without doing that, you're just looking at it saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do this, and I wanna." And I'm stressed out because I cannot get it right. That's a good way to do it, but a lot of times I just let myself go, and you kind of see the shape in there, and then obviously on top of it you can do a couple of different approaches where you can actually start adding shade by adding shapes. You kind of see structure of it, or you can use the line drawings to actually draw the shapes of it. But in this one, I'm picking these different shapes here. So and then also I use a lot of lasso tool. Lasso tool is a quick way of getting perfect outline shapes. Okay. And then what I mean by using the lasso tool is it's cutting out this masking shapes, right? And then that becomes sort of quick masking for me to control. So here I have two buildings on the side. Then I can flip the masking, and here now I can finish up the interior shape of this kind of strange architecture shapes. And then constantly changing the composition so that it doesn't become too center heavy. So here, this particular image becomes very painterly, so I'm gonna lighten up some of the font. Then now I can start adding middle structure where, yeah, I mean, let me see. You see this structure is going this way, so I think there's a room for showing the side of it. So I'm just gonna lighten up this side. So now you see as, okay, this is more like a tower shape, and I'm gonna do more like a center structure here. Maybe this one has more like a kind of tower thing.
Is this the same kind of progress you would use while working on a game like God of War 3?
No, God of War 3 will be more structured, you know, because it's not free, because, you know, there will be camera angle that I have to stick with, and some of the design requirement where if there's a puzzle mechanics in the center, or there's like statues in there, things like that, and then also narrative. Yeah, the room is maybe the room is like Prometheus, like chamber or things like that, and I have to understand what the characters is actually mean to Greek mythology, and I have to use some of the design motifs for that character. So, and then so how much time do I have?
As much as you need. I think we have about 20 minutes until when the meeting is scheduled to end. So if you want to keep within that, that'd be good. Or if you need a little bit more time, feel free to take that. Or if you need a little less time.
Okay.
I think everyone here is really enjoying the chance to see you painting live in front of them. I think you'd be surprised how much people are enjoying it, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like fast forward recording, it's real time. So, I mean, we used to do that after work too. Like speed painting, the one. The funny thing is, when we do the speed painting, we said like, hey, only 20 minutes, right? We choose a topic, like for example, like hey, Superman, and then like me and Easy Mizrano and Andy Park, we all like start painting 20 minutes, and I stop at 20 minutes, you know. Then I look over and they're still painting. And I'm like, come on, it's 20 minutes. Stop. That's the painting. Come on. And then their painting is so much better. I'm like, hey, I thought we were only going to do it for 20 minutes. And they end up painting for like hour. Then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go home. Screw you guys. It happened a couple times, so I'm like, that's not speed painting. But so yeah, I mean, so and then this way, like, and then you know, just finding a good, more like composition elements where you can have this long bridge coming through. That's kind of helps you, kind of brings the whole area together, right? So
it seems like you're solving these problems as you work on the image.
yeah, because like I said, I don't get too attached to my work, you know. So I mean, it's not the right way to explain, but what I'm saying is, I'm not afraid to try and see what's gonna happen, right? So
now, one thing that I like as I'm watching here is you're blocking in the lighting of the scene as you're working with these big, simple, blocked-in shapes. What kind of thought process are you going through as you're blocking in the lights like that?
I don't understand. I don't understand. What do you mean again?
Well, where you've got your highlights here, the way that I imagine this would be an outdoor scene that the sun is lighting up different buildings here. What is kind of your thought process as you put in those shapes as they're lighting up the objects here?
That it's not really accurate, you know, because I'm not because I guess working from game production is sort of does that because you pretty much light all the scene in the computer, right? So sometimes some of the levels in God of War, it's like lighting doesn't match because we kind of fake it. You know, a lot of times we fake it. So if this is like concept for live action movie, yeah, I mean you have to be careful with that. But for example, this one, for me, it's more important thing is getting that emotional mood of the painting coming through, you know, instead of so. And then later I can use the more here, and then you go like other bigger shapes that in front. Maybe this is like tiny cities that are kind of like stand out. Oh, this one is gotta be.
So it sounds like depending on the project and depending what kind of piece you need to be concepting, the way that you approach it can be completely different.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so, and then, you know, it's like, of course, then after you have some groundwork done, then you just merge everything together, and you can have multiple of them, and then that's when you sort of figuring out overall color, right? So then you can even do a little bit of level thing. And then from here you can go into more details to actually describe the scale and what's happening in this surface. So in this case, well, this could be like kind of open shape, things like that, and start adding details on them. Cool?
Yeah, it looks great, Cecil. And what I really like about watching you paint is you really have no fear in going in and completely changing the look and the colors of the piece. Now, when you're doing a piece like this and you're adding those details, do you ever use photographs to help you add those details? Do you use them as references? Do you ever use texture overlays? What do you do in situations like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I depends on the client too, but like for this kind of buildings, look the top shape. Let's see. Well, I guess I could use my paintings because I don't have photos that's ready to use. But let's say this is a photo, and let's say this is like that particular texture. You know, then obviously you can stretch and doing things. Obviously this is really bright, but I mean, you guys all know. I mean, it's kind of using the overlay to sort of like start adding some of the textures, right? So it really helps the scale too, right? But then what you have to do at the end is you have to go up and go in there and then clean up all this, where it's the sims and some of the connecting parts. So plus you have to draw over to match the textures and scales. So the photo overlaying is pretty much the later, but before you get to that point, you have to, you know, tell your story. And I think it's the getting your metaphor going across in your work instead of just doing beautiful landscape or beautiful cityscape. you have to have people look at your work and go, wow, that's cool, but they can, you know, look away. I mean, but then what's gonna help your work is having the second voice, is that having the metaphor, you know, it's like kind of odd shapes that draws the feelings out from the audience, you know, or I guess
it's making it more than just a painting, something that people can really be engaged.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. I always have a hard time explaining to my students too.
Well, I think the best way that you're able to explain that is with the amazing work that you do. I think that it speaks to exactly what you're saying. Cecil, I want to thank you so much for taking your very valuable time and spending with us today, answering our questions, doing a demonstration for us. You really did an excellent job. I speak for everyone in saying that you really inspired us to move on to do great pieces, and I just want to say thank you very much, Cecil.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much. That was fun.
Again, I want to reiterate that thanks. I really appreciate you again taking your time again, Cecil. And to you, Ben, for being an incredible interviewer. I really enjoyed the dialogue you two had, and I hope that we can continue this process in the future again with the class and stuff. But with that being said, I want to also let everyone know in attendance that this will be an ongoing series. So just remember that we will be introducing this once per term, and eventually, as it grows in popularity, possibly even more frequently than that. But with that being said, thank you all for attending today's live Q&A session interview with Cecil Kim. And to Ben, again, thank you so much. And remember that we have the contest basically with Blue Canvas open, so you guys can check it out on their website, but also we'll be emailing you guys links to that. And any of the other questions you guys had that were not answered during this particular session or you have about the school, just please feel free to give us a write and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But other than that, thank you all so much and have a good day.